Alright, it is time for Journal Showdown! Yay! Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you Journal Showdown. This is an event that was created by my sister Jamie, the Journaling Sage, and me several years ago, where we shared all of the journals that we were actively using. And then earlier this year, Jamie decided it's time to do it all again. So it is time to do it all again. And I'll leave a link to her video up above for you to check out. And by the way, on the day that I'm posting this, it's her birthday, so go say hi and happy birthday to my sister Jamie. So, and you can participate in this as well. You can do your own journal showdown, you can do a video or a blog post or an Instagram post. Just use the hashtag Journal Showdown, and feel free to, of course, share the original video and tag us so that we know that you've done it. So, and this is I'm going to go through, so this is for active journals that you're regularly using, and I am going to go through journals by my most frequently used to my least frequently used. So we're going to start with the things that I use sort of like daily, and then weekly, and then project-based, and then the sort of slightly neglected or hopefully used ones. But we're going to start with the ones that I use all the time. So the journal that I use all the time is my Morning Pages journal, and I use just a regular lined paper, no fuss, no muss, just, you know, lined paper. And Morning Pages is a practice that I've been doing a very long time. It is from The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and it is where you do 3 longhand pages of free writing. So just a stream of consciousness, just like blah, 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 but with words, you know, unless you don't have any words, in which case you do blah, blah, blah till you get to words. And it's just a really great way of clearing the mind, figuring out some things that might be just sort of like nagging at you, as well as providing some insights into things that are, you know, need some attention. And for me, I also find it's a nice way to kind of vent without venting at someone. I just sort of get it out on the page. It is done. Nobody needs to hear it, and I'm ready to start the day. And I do Morning Pages Monday through Friday. I don't do it on the weekend. I find 5 days a week is good enough for me. And yeah, and I've been doing it for years. And actually, it says MPs there, so it's upside down. But that's because where I put it this way, and so I see it this way. So it's my Morning Pages book. I also use it for free writing if we're doing free writing in Mindful Mondays or Journal Club, which are 2 offerings that Jamie has at the studio. And so I use it also for that. And then if I just need to sort of like hash something out just like a little bit in a free writing way, I do it here. But I do have another book that I'm more likely to do sort of like processing type stuff to, but I will get to that in a second. So that is my Morning Pages books, and I don't keep these per se. I used to just recycle them, but now that I do some bookmaking type stuff, like where I split books into multiple volumes, sometimes you need scrap paper to glue against, and so I keep them for that until all of the pages are glued together, and then I recycle them. So, but it's transitory. It's not, the process is the important part. Keeping the journal is not, and also my handwriting is like horrible, so. Another one that I use every day, and this is a sort of not super journal, but I think it is something that's worth sharing, is I do use a to-do list, and for a to-do list I just use, again, a very small lined paper. I'm in the middle of another one, and also a lot of my writing I find private, so I don't usually share like actually what's going on, like what the writing in my actual journals, but this is an example of what I do use. I just do the date. I often do my YouTube stats, or if I'm calculating some kind of stats, depending on maybe another, like a personal goal that I'm working towards. So I do sometimes often put a number that I'm tracking. It could be anything. It could be weight. It could be YouTube stats, it could be, I never look at my Instagram stats, or whatever, like if there's something that I'm noting, or the weather, something that I'm noting daily, I often do that, and then I just, you know, everything that I need to do that day, and I do it a bit time-wise, like anything at the bottom is really sort of evening stuff, and the rest is just to-dos, and then anything I do regularly that needs to move ahead every week, like something that I do meal planning weekly, I put on a post-it, and then I put it ahead on the day, so like if I do that Tuesday, I'll put it on whatever will end up being the next Tuesday, and then I'll flip it to the next Tuesday. I find keeping track of like the things I do regularly and often on the same day to be the hardest thing to work into a to-do system or a bullet journal system. For some reason, a lot of them don't sort of have an accommodation for that. So using Post-its is my is my way for that. Actually, getting it done, the tickler, that really does very, very well specifically work with that, but it's a bit more paper-based system, so I don't usually, I haven't used it for years, but it did work for me for years. But that's a bit more on the organizational system, bullet journal side of things, but it is something that I definitely use daily. Another daily practice is the studio yearbook, of course, which is something that Jamie has created, and and it is a seasonal guided journal. This is currently the fall one. As I'm filming this, we are still in fall. Can you believe it? It's just it's so funny to think December, like most of December is actually fall. We don't get to winter until the 21st usually. So anyway, so I will leave a link down below for more information about the studio yearbook, but I will share a couple of pages that I do have. There is always a page to share who you are at the beginning of the season. So I actually did a picture of myself with my sprocket at this very desk. That's just a different view of where I am. I spend a lot of time at this desk, and we can do things that we're enjoying about the season and stuff like that. And then there's also daily pages and daily insights and stuff like that. So for this one, I had a TV show that I was watching, the video I posted or was working on, and Jared Padalecki did a very, very touching video or post, so I put a picture of him plus things I was grateful for, insights, quotes, and that kind of stuff. And his quote for that day was, "You define you," which I think is a campaign that he's running. And yeah, and then what else we got here? So there's another daily. This was another one I was watching. Nathaniel Drew, and he's been really insightful, and he's really interesting. And so, yeah, and so it's just, it was the first day that it snowed, so that was the big that day. And then what else we got? And then watching a live show with Nicole and Jen, and Jen was wearing these awesome ears. And so just, you know, quotes from, like, you know, what was happening that day, and insights, and the big thing, oh, that was the tech dress for planning day, so that was a big day. And there's also a focus area page for weekly gatherings of things that you want to do and important things in your life. So as I said, I will leave more information about the studio yearbook down below. So, but that is my fall one. That was really fun to do. I love doing the covers. It really gives a sense of the season. Oh, I like the back too. And squirrel. So yeah, so that's great. And then I have a sort of like weekly planning. Is that what we're going to here? Yeah, oh no, well then I have another sort of, this one I haven't been keeping up very well. But I do also like to sometimes do like a daily visual journal. So this was just, you know, visually like what I was up to, what the day sort of looked like to me, and some quotes, you know, some TV quotes and stuff like that. And historically I've kept books like this. I think this one has more like it. And yeah, and also like I just put lists in it. So this is an older one, but this is like games that I had that I wanted to play or check out. And what else do I have here? Oh yeah, and then I often do like what I got from Value Village, and I'll do little drawings of it. I don't remember what happened to these shoes. Escher started sniffing them right away, but I don't know what happened to those shoes. I don't have them, and this wasn't that long ago. So yeah, so I'll put all of the tags. Of course, they're not really doing stuff like that now, or I haven't been to Value Village since COVID. And then sometimes they do like a year in review, you know, so that was my film for that year. So a sort of like combination journal of like pictures and drawings and what I've been thinking about daily. I've started back up doing that, but I haven't been keeping it up as much, but I do, this is my new one for that, this one, and I do like to collage or draw on the covers. So that's my sort of winter, fall to winter, it's not winter yet, but fall to winter one. And so hopefully I will keep that up. Then I have sort of like more of a planning one. So this is my planning one. I just put something on the cover so I knew what it was. And so this is also a combination of that as well. Like sometimes I have projects that I'm working on. So I'm working on Duolingo, really hoping to get to 365 days. I'm not there yet. Today we're more in the 330, so I'm almost there. Oh yeah, I even wrote the ones that, the areas that I've finished. I haven't finished an area for a long time. I just keep on going back and reprising old ones. And then I also do sort of like a weekly plan of like what's going on each day, and then like a long list of more important to-dos. And I do also, recently I have been tracking the weather, because in the winter the weather makes a big impact on what I can and can't do, depending on what it's like outside, so I've been tracking the weather. I do it in pencil because it could easily change, because I need to be a bit more flexible, which is not my favorite thing, but I gotta do it. Another one that's a bit odd, I can't show the one that I'm using because I'm using it right now. I also have a vlog log, so I have a book that has all of my notes that I'm going to share when I'm doing my vlog. So, for example, oops, I forgot to pick an example. So, Romance Readers Read Along, which was from February 10th to the 16th in that year. And then the challenges, it was hosted by Sarah and Sissy, and, you know, what to leave off on. So I just go through some basic things I always want to share in all of the videos. And I especially find that helpful for dates and names, because I always want to make sure I get those correctly, especially since I don't edit. And then just another one that's, you know, for a Friday reads. So what I finished, other stuff. Oh no, I separated it differently. So MMM, what was that? Oh, March Mystery Madness, and then stuff I was reading for the SFF stuff, and then the upcoming Finnish romances and the read-a-noms coming up. So yeah, so it just sort of notes. Sometimes for videos I do it on my phone because it's easier to transfer it from my computer to my phone if it's something I track on my computer. But yeah, and then I have another vlogish one where I do scheduling for upcoming videos. For this one I use graph paper, and I initially do it in pencil, and then once it's in pen I do, once I've published it, I do it in pen. And so that's more of a schedule thing. I find it really, really helpful because I can plug in the things that I know that I'm going to do, like all the Friday reads, and then I plug in like things that I also know that I do, like my TBR for the month as well as my wrap-up, and then I can see what slots are available to fill in the blanks if I have reviews, or if I have tags that I want to do, or if I need to actually have, if I don't have enough content and I need to fill it out. So I do usually do it like a month. I usually have the next month planned from the current month, especially because there's at least sort of 6 videos I know, the Friday reads and the TBR and the reflection. So, and then I think I got a little lax on it. For current situation, but because I'm doing sort of like Vlogmas, I have it on the computer because I needed to do, actually this month I had to do it on index cards and on the ground to figure it out, because this year I've been playing with the idea of doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, always having a video, but I think having a video on the weekend is good. And often if I do a reflection or a longer video, I think sometimes having that on the weekend is better because I think people have a little more time. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on that. Okay, in this similar vein, I also have, going from videos to books, I do have a couple of book-ish journals. This one is a combination of books and TV. So this one I have my, I had my summer fling where I wanted to read every day. Every day I read, I colored in. Then I also do my tracking that I share on Instagram is in this one. It doesn't feel like a lot of pages, yeah, October. So this one shows up on Instagram all the time. I love the colors that October ended up being. So yeah, so that's all the books that I'm reading. That didn't have one of the book lists. Oh yeah, it did. And then I also do a TBR, and then I have on the side whether I've started it, actively reading it, finished it, and then what the rating was. I got these at the dollar store. I got these amazing little calendars. It was so good. It was like a pack. It was like within a pack of a notepad, and it had those, and it had 4 each for each month of those little calendars. I just, like, what a steal that was. And so yeah, so this one I do also my reading planning in, so I have my TBR, and then I also have my monthly planning, which again, I go through things I'm actively reading, or go through things I'm actively reading, things I'm not sure about, things that I'm hiatusing, and then I reorganize it to try and figure out what I need to focus on that particular week. And yeah, and then I also have, this year, I added TV to the same book. I always go through the, like, do I want one book for everything or everything in its own book or to combine things, and so I find that a bit of a struggle. But for this one, I do TV, I had my TV goals for one page, and I do a weekly, October goals. I didn't even come back to that. I did not do a lot of them. And so I do a schedule for the week. What's on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Nothing's ever on Friday. And then what I'm watching streaming and what my goals are. And then I do a reflection, which is a new part that I added and I'm really, really happy with. So yeah, because I do track TV, and this one I also added a page where I am going through like some different shows, and then I color them in depending on the month I finish them on. So that's something I knew I added. Now I'm a little frustrated though, because I know I won't finish these this year, and I only have enough pages in this for this year, so I'm gonna have to either redo it all. And again, do I want one book for TV, one book for books? I don't know. And I will say that over the years, because I've done so many journals, I feel like I can't keep them all. And whenever there's a visual element, I am more likely to come back to it. So I think sometimes I add visual elements so that I'll keep them. That being said, I used to also keep TV notes for particular episodes, but I stopped doing that. I think a lot of the shows that I really, really liked and had really long arcs, I ended up finaleing. Also on the sort of more project-y based things, I do have what I consider sort of more of what I call an adventure calendar. And this is sort of like a visual depiction of goals that I have that are grouped within either a certain timeline or a certain category. So for this one, I actually have this Strathmore, I don't know why I see post-its sketch, and it's wonderful. I've been using it for years, and it's blanked. Usually, honestly, I use composition books for almost everything, but this one really is nice because I do drawings, and so this one is my spread for book to film adaptations. So these are books that I've read that I haven't seen, and then when I see them, I need to color them in. I've actually seen some of these, so I need to color them in. But then I also did one for movie nights. So I wanted to have a bunch of movie nights. I've only had 2, so there's room for more. I didn't date it, so usually I think to the end of the year, but it doesn't have to be. What else do we have here? I'm also using this to track my David's teas. So I got the 24 days of tea, so I put the kind of tea, whether I added milk and sugar, my impressions, the ingredients, and then how much I liked it and if I would get it again. And then I also did that for the fall favorites. It's got a little messy. But this one's that's a bit more functional. And then, I'm trying to think, yeah, and then this is one of my older adventure calendars from a previous year, where I wanted to, there was a whole bunch of new TV shows that I wanted to check out, so I drew them in. And this was really interesting because sometimes I didn't know what the show was about, so I just sort of, like the Runaways, I drew people literally just running away. And I didn't end up watching it because I didn't color it in, but I did end up watching a fair amount of the shows. And some I kept with and some I did not keep with. But I find it fun. Oh, I finished The Lock. I finished that this year. So yeah, so sometimes I really enjoy having a blank book because for doing drawing. And then I do also have a reading journal. Now this is one that's project based as opposed to just sort of like weekly processing. And I have a couple of different book lists that I am working my way through. Ooh, this has a bunch of paper in it. Ooh, sorry, I did not notice that. So there's a couple of different lists that I am working through. I'm trying to see if this anything has dark enough that you can see. This is, well, it's pretty light. So one of which is the Vaginal Fantasy Book Club backlist. And so I want to try all of the books within that backlist because I think it ended up being 100 until they did the live shows, something like that. So I've just sort of like sketched in what the cover looks like and whether or not it's a part of a series. I know it's really light. I haven't done these in pen yet. This is definitely more of a long haul process. Let's see if I have a better page. And then I have my sci-fi, fantasy, and weird project where I have, it's the same thing. I have the title, author, year, my rating when I read it and how many pages it was, and then if it's part of a series. It was fun just to come up with the different categories. Oh, and see, this one's split into 3. That means it's a trilogy. So, yeah, but I haven't done these in ink yet. I'm a little hesitant. Oh, that's a long series. Look at all those books. Look at all those books. What's that? Caves of Steel by Asimov. Oh, yeah, it has prequels, and then I think a trilogy, and then another trilogy. So, yeah, I wrote careful. That's weird. I don't know what that's about. So this is more of an in-process. I've actually done a fair amount of work on this one. But I realize I should probably just do it in pen because I'm going to have to go over all of that again. So if I have the format down, I should do that. And I was going to do it with series as well. But did I end up doing it? And this is a very lightly dotted journal, and I like the larger format. I find my handwriting isn't small. It's not huge, but I find that this format is a little bit better. But I don't love having this I like I don't know, I go back and forth on spiral. I like it sometimes, but it's not great on the shelf. So it's great while you're working, you know, but I do like how close, you know, you can get to the corners. I don't know, to the seam. Anyway, so I can't find a good example of I thought I did series at the end. I also was thinking about adding Geography Now to this, which is a channel that they go through each of the countries alphabetically and provide stats and stuff on each of the countries, demographics, political ties. They don't call it that, the friendship zone, and like the physical geography, and I love it. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of the seas, but I haven't got to Canada yet. So my light goal for the end of the year is to finish off the seas. So I thought it'd be fun to do that here as well. But again, it's a fair amount of like nitpicky type stuff, and I don't know if I would consider it journaling. Actually, per se, it feels a bit more like documentation. Is documentation journaling? That is a great question. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Okay, let's keep going. This is getting really long. Another one I have is sort of like project-based stuff. So I have my 101 Things in 1001 Days, part 2 that I'm in the middle of. I'm now 1 year and half a season into it. So I have one book that is literally just all of the things. Some of these are personal, so I have to be careful. Okay, well this one's kind of funny. Like I had that I wanted to try new lipsticks, so I included all of the colors. I wanted to try a new lipstick every season, so that's what I've done there. And and try new hairstyles. And so this is more documenting the process of it. I have a fair amount of reading goals in here. Yeah, like reading all of the BookTube SFF Award backlist. So there's lots of lists I'm working through. So actually, for this one, again, I don't know if I consider this a journal, but I do also have one that I keep that is like my check-in. So like my reflection on how things are going, and you know, how what the process of things. So one's like a check mark. Did I do this thing? Yes or no. And one's more like, I'm working on this. I'm finding it challenging here. I don't have enough information about this, or I love this process so much, or like, why did I choose this? Should I change it? So I have one that's more processy and one that's more like, this is the list. So that's really fun to do. And then I have stuff that's more like notes. So for example, I have this notebook that is my notes that I take for art classes that I do, and I often do a new washi tape on the side if it's a new class or a new lesson. And so I did art boot camp, and then that was a new one, and so I had lots of pages. And sometimes I leave this page blank so I can come back and write all of the supplies, because I often or what the actual assignment is, because sometimes I think I know what the assignment is while I'm starting, but often the assignment is reiterated at the end. So I like to leave a spot at the front on this side so that I can put what the actual assignment is and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's all my class notes for art classes. And then I do also keep a sort of like everything journal, like sketchbook. So it just has some starter pages, and then I can just draw whatever I want on it. I like doing lines, I like doing pattern. So, you know, that just has paint. I can come back with other stuff. That's just something to start with. And yeah, and this is a practice I've just sort of started more recently. And this does fall more into the sketchbooky stuff. but it also ties into the art class notes. And then I have my everything book, or my everything journal, and this really is just, this is very transitory. This is just, you know, stuff that I am working on. It is literally like, like a bunch of 2020 Netflix films that I want to watch. So it's lots of lists. What else have we got here? Meal planning, you know, what's in the fridge? What days do I need to eat something? What do I need on my grocery list? Check mark if I actually put it on the grocery list or in my cart, you know, stuff like that. And then I have the TV schedule for winter. I always do this, but this one's just sort of more of a rough draft of just what's on which station at which time, and then I highlight what I want to watch. Obviously a lot on the CW. I thought there was one more. But yeah, and I do also lists, you know, like working through projects, schedules, that kind of stuff. More food inventory. So it's just stuff, like it's just process. I can't even, and again, my handwriting, I don't even know what half this stuff is. So yeah. Oh, and I was trying to figure out which authors I've read the most from, so I'm going through Goodreads alphabetically. I made it to H. So, you know, because I'm trying to figure out which authors I've read the most from to do a video. By the time I get through the whole list, I probably will need to do a new list. So there's that. And then there's the ones that I don't use as often, but I wish I did. And shockingly enough, you probably noticed in all of this, that there isn't what I tend to call a journal, where you just write. You just write your thoughts. And I do have a couple that I use for that. This is my current one, but it's not really quite a journal. This is what I call a magazine journal. And it is a magazine where I have taken out a bunch of pages and I've added in a bunch of pages. So at this point, there's no, personally, I like having no words. So it's all images. So it's just magazine images. And I'm really close to the end of this one. So everything is covered. Oh, this one, did I do a font? So everything is, woo! Right, so it's just all wonderful images. And then I just go over it and journal with gel pens, just over the whole page. And I am so private, so I'm gonna go way back here. So, so I just write all over top, and yeah, and so I really like it. It's just a really fun, but again, it's not very keepable in terms of going back to reread it is not that possible. So I go back and forth on whether or not that's a good idea, or if I should go back to just a journal. So this is one that I've had for years, and it's just lined paper, and then I add in stuff like this one I added in from my March 2018 TBR. So I also just add in, you know, stuff like that, and I kept that on my fridge until I finished it. But sometimes stuff like this ends up in my yearbook as well. Yeah, so I don't know, like I feel like I should have a journal, but right now I'm not doing it that much. So anyway, so those are my most active journals, from most active to least active. I do have a couple on the side that I have yet to start. I want to start one just specifically for Danish, because that's what I'm doing in Duolingo, but I can't quite figure out how I want to do it. Did I start it? There's so many different ways, especially there's so many different endings to nouns that I can't figure out the best way to do it. So I have it just bookmarked as Danish, and then I have like a long list to do book, which is something that I used to keep, where it's just everything I want to do, just a long list, sort of like more of a brain dump, and I haven't come back to it. And then I just have a couple of composition books, because I have so many composition books, and I do find that I think a lot of these, as you can probably see, have been composition books, and that really has been a lot of my mainstay for this, because I find they're quite durable. I like that they have a hard cover, and because I am like pretty, like I like to have it so that it's really strong, and I don't like to be too precious on it, which is probably why that the book journal why I haven't spent a huge amount of time in this one, because it's like, it feels so precious, and I'm like, to go in with ink, and if I mess anything up, I am going to be like so not happy. And actually it does take a fair amount of time, and I do go back and forth on feeling like, is it worth it? But those are some lists that I really feel strongly about working through, and I think with the geography now as well, it would really sort of reaffirm, you know, the information. I just have to figure out the parameters of what I want to capture, like I have with the book list. I know like what I want: title, author, year, series, and how the series is structured, and just a little picture of the cover, which I'm going to draw. I could also print out, I guess, on Sprocket paper. I can't figure out how to do more than one picture in one thing, because they're smaller than that. But, you know, that is something for another day. So there you go. My goodness gracious, this was a long video. Thank you. Thank you for staying all the way to the end. Feel free, as I said, to do your own video and share the journals that you are currently using, and use the hashtag Journal Showdown, tag Jamie and or me, and we would love to see what you are working with these days. And this was really fun to do. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I'm sorry it was so long. I guess journaling is something that I do feel very strongly about, and it's always fun to have an opportunity to share, so that invitation gets sent to you to share. And if you use one journal, you can share that too. It doesn't have to be lots. It's just, it has to be what works for you, right? That's what we're sharing. That's what we're sharing. That's what that's what I think is important. So, and I shared some things that didn't work for me. Or I wish worked for me, because that, it's helpful. I don't always like that knowledge, but it's still helpful. So there you go. Thank you so very, very much, and I will be back soon with another video. Take care.